Okay, here we go. Um, yeah, I wasn't feeling good earlier, so I just wanted to, make sure that I was ready to do this. I was feeling my best. So here we go. Episode one of You're Not Terribly Important to Me is going to be my podcast about movies, basically my opinion, um, on them and movie reviews and really kind of looking at in a critical way, other movie critics, other reviewers, seeing what kind of, in big picture, what are they saying? What are they sort of echoing? Are they thinking for themselves, or are they just kind of going along with the herd? Um, and I'm interested in movie criticism, its history. Big fan of Pauline Kael. I like Roger Ebert, despite some of his, incredibly dumb opinions. And that's kind of the whole point of this, and of where I'm coming from, is that, you know, as movie reviewers, as movie critics, we all get it wrong. The fun part is how often you get it right, how often you sort of, and of course, there's those people out there that are very boring, who want to say, well, there is no right or wrong. It's complete. And of course, that's, yes, by the way, yes, that's true. It's fundamentally true that it's a subjective thing. Movies are. That's the test. That's the fun part of it, is that we all know that objectively it's subjective. So the point is to write or to critique in a way that says, hey, this is how I see it. And that's obvious. It's like everybody has their own opinion, their own view of it. But it's like it's about being able to express it to a point where actually prove how, in your own way, even if it's just creative, how right you are, and just how everybody else got it wrong, how everybody else didn't see it. That's the fun of something like this. And so I'm going to have a really good time digging into what other people think, and why they're wrong. Mostly because it's not my opinion. Again, I don't want anybody who watches this to take it overly serious, because at the end of the day, I'm just a guy with a set of opinions who, I'm passionate about movies. I love movies. The title of the podcast is probably my favorite line from American Psycho, the movie. You're not terribly important to me, when Patrick is breaking up with Evelyn. Um, Bret Easton Ellis I'm a big fan of his. I love his writing. I love him actually as a movie critic, a movie reviewer. He has his own podcast where he goes over, what he's been watching lately, what he thinks of it. A lot of the times it's, TCM and Criterion. So it's kind of right up my alley. But he's been doing it since 2013, and he's really done a great job showing the decline of Hollywood and how movies have just gotten worse over time. Where some years he literally can't even create like a best of list, because nothing really held his interest, or moved the needle in terms of being memorable, or dynamic in any kind of way. So I this podcast is going to be movie centric. There might be some pop culture stuff I talk about, just because it's in that realm. And I'm to just admit it, I do kind of like gossipy tabloid Hollywood stuff. So that's just part of kind of who I am and my personality. I grew up reading People. Uh, so if you want an explanation that, watching True Hollywood Story, that kind of stuff. So, and it'd be one thing if I was, an incredible, let's just say super into theater or something, but I'm not. So it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But anyway, so I wanted to just kind of quickly go through, because I only have a few movies from my personal collection here that are in the number category, sort of before A gets started. So that's fine. I can kind of just riff on them here real quick, before I'm able to pull up my the next part of the podcast here. So first movie that I have here in my collection is, see if I can get my camera to work with me. Sidney Lumet. And this is probably one of the best movies ever made. It's staged incredibly well, has that black and white late 1950s kind of high sheen kind of TV look. And yeah, it was shot, I think, on a soundstage, so that makes sense. And it's just a one location setting, very atmospheric with the summer day. Everybody's sweating it out, sweating over the case. So there's definitely some visual power there. But there's just an all around great cast and great performances. Certainly Henry Fonda at the head of it. You have Jack Klugman in there, Martin Balsam, and of course you have Lee J. Cobb, who plays the defiant opposition who just will not give in to reason and circumstance and consideration of the defendant. So it's a must see movie. I remember a couple years ago when the whole Me Too thing happened, and I basically said, "Hey, all you proponents of Me Too, you should watch 12 Angry Men." And everybody pretended to not understand what I was saying, about due process, and guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, because we've certainly seen that movement fail over time, with just how many of those cases turned out to be nothing, or outright lies. And it all came to a head during the whole Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing. I mean, that was the moment. So 12 Angry Men, you got to see it. It's a must own for cinephiles. And just probably Sidney Lumet's best movie. And that's talking about an incredible career of diverse and dynamic and interesting movies. So yeah, definitely check it out if you have not seen it. My second movie here in the number category is 3:10 to Yuma. This is the remake, directed by James Mangold, who has gone on to do some really awful things like the fifth Indiana Jones movie. But every once in a while, James Mangold really delivers something special on the cinematic screen. 3:10 to Yuma is fantastic. Ford versus Ferrari is another movie I have that we'll go over once we get to F, that I just got. So I haven't even watched it yet. But he's a director who, again, has talent, has an ability to tell a story and bring the audience along on a thrill ride. This remake of 3:10 to Yuma, I think, is just slightly better than the original, which I know is blasphemy among Westerns fans. I'm a big fan of Westerns myself, but sometimes I think that you can make an improvement on it. And as good as the original is, I do think that this remake is better. Christian Bale is incredible. Russell Crowe is great. There's an amazing supporting cast. Dallas Roberts. I mean, you have what's her face from Rounders that I can't think of right now. So I mean, it has Logan Lerman plays his older son in it. So so it is what it is. I really enjoy it. In that sort of modern way where a lot of Westerns don't measure up to the ones that came out in the 50s, in the 40s, and even in the 70s, had a lot of great sort of spaghetti Westerns that Italian influence. But yeah, no, it's definitely worth checking out. But yeah, I'll always have pushback with people loving the original. I think it was Delmer Daves who directed the original with Glenn Ford and I am totally spacing on the guy's name now. I did last time too. Van Heflin is his name. So it is what it is. But yeah, I definitely would recommend checking out the remake if you have not seen it. I actually saw it in theaters back in 2007 when I was 18. So it certainly made an impact. And I am a little biased because it was when I was heavily into like Christian Bale. Like I would go see every movie he was in. So yeah, it's definitely yeah, definitely check it out if you haven't. Third movie here. I've only got one more after this one. So like I said, it's a pretty short collection. 3 Days of the Condor. So directed by Sidney Pollack, starring Robert Redford. There you go. And Faye Dunaway. So I'm not a big Robert Redford fan. I know he's a big icon in movie history and all that he's done with Sundance and his him being in iconic movies, but never really been a fan. This is a movie that I really like. It's incredibly paranoid, and it's a paranoid thriller, and it's driven is just inability to trust anybody around him, and all of his colleagues are dead. He Every time he tries to meet up and rid himself of uh, the documents and the access that he has to the CIA, his employer, someone tries to kill him. So, and at the very end, it's you're sort of left hanging where it's like at any moment you could go out. At any moment they could come for you and take you out. So it's behind, like, it's definitely up there. It's not quite on the level of The Conversation, 1974, Francis Ford Coppola, but it definitely creeps you out. It's definitely it's something that keeps your attention, and is very much of its time, mid 70s, don't trust any sort of government institution, any public institution. And, the irony here is that, he was a CIA employee and it didn't matter, So, and there's a recurring theme there with that organization, is all I'll say. Okay, so the last movie is probably one of the greatest films of all time. Maybe the greatest film of all time, which I know that that's hard to sort of, measure and talk about, and so many things to you know to consider about. But 2001: A Space Odyssey is just an incredible movie. It's not for people who struggle to pay attention. It's it's you have to really want um to stay with it, because yeah, there are long artistic shots that, it's a great movie to study framing and cinematography and blocking and all those cinematic components that make up to the technical aspects of filmmaking. It is just a monumental work of art. It's just truly one of the best films ever made. Stanley Kubrick is also my favorite director of all time, so again, a little bias there, but this is echoed by filmmakers, by, magazines, publications, film institutes, all of these things. There's a reason it's in everybody's top 10. There's a reason it finds itself battling for number one movie of all time in the Sight and Sound poll whatever it did, every 10 years. So I, you know, I, if you're serious about movies, if you really want to appreciate something that doesn't beat you over the head, you know, that that you can appreciate its art, but you can also appreciate what it's trying to say. I think that you absolutely need to see 2001. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. It's not going to be, it's something you really have to pay attention to and really absorb 100%. With that attention span sort of just being, even if you find yourself kind of drifting off, returning that focus to the screen and really sitting there and absorbing what it has to say. So next stream, I'm gonna do the rest, my A's, I guess. So we'll do that next time. I'm gonna work around with my computer here a little bit just to see what I'm capable of doing. So because I want to be able to talk about a little bit in further detail here, Bret Easton Ellis and this new podcast that just came out, but I have not listened to it yet, and I don't know if I'm going to get it to work here. So give me 1 second. And just kind of like cleaning up, the talk about the Academy Awards. Um, I look, everything pretty much fell into place the way I saw it. The people that are griping over Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie not getting Academy Award nominations, it's like, they're not serious people. I mean, those were long shots. Everybody knew that coming in, because none of the previous awards, nominations or winners really spelled out that they were going to do well, or were even number one or number two on the preferential ballots, which the Academy Awards works off of. So to me, it's just like they have nothing to talk about, and they're sort of generating outrage to sort of get interest in the Academy Awards, which again, is, I think interest is at an all-time low. I'm someone who's deeply cynical about Hollywood, and I still am interested in it. I still, for whatever reason, I want to see it play out, and I want to see, um, oh, who's gonna win and and it doesn't matter because it's Hollywood's own little private club. You know what I mean? And they have all these diversity requirements now that I think this is the last year where they do not take effect. I think next year is the first year. So, in to go down in quality because you have all these hoops to jump through just to be able to be nominated. It used to be like you just have to play, in so many theaters in America during these dates to be able to be eligible, for best picture or whatever the category might be. But um it's becoming like you have to have two, biracial children in your cast or something ridiculous like that, where it gets in the way of creative output and um ingenuity and it's telling people what they can and can't do with the art form, which is kind of ridiculous. It's starting to morph into something, I don't want to go too far or say something too like, but it feels slightly Soviet, it feels very authoritarian. Um, but again, at the end of the day, it's their club, the academy, it's their club. So they can celebrate and pat themselves on the back for a bunch of shit that nobody's going to watch or be interested in. That's sad. It's sad that you have this great tradition of, and it's true. There is, going back to all throughout its history, the academy has fucked up so many times, but it used to be about, generally be about the best movies, the best performances. And that's why I've watched. That's why I've cared to follow it, because you know, when you love something like you like movies, it's like you want to say, "Hey, I thought that too. Like I thought that was the best too. I thought, I thought, oh, but this guy got screwed," kind of thing. Like Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton got screwed from winning Birdman, Best Actor for Birdman. That movie, like he should have won hands down, absolutely, like no question. Instead, it was Eddie Redmayne as Tard Stephen Hawking. So it's like I, you know what I mean? It's just like okay, fine. So it's very rare where it happens, where someone I liked the best that year ultimately wins. I mean, a nomination alone is just like, oh, sweet, that's awesome. And so, I mean, this year, the fact that so many performances that I loved personally got nominated, yeah, it's a little bit of a pat on the back kind of feeling, but it's utterly meaningless because you realize it doesn't, like, none of this matters. It's a lot of it's about money. A lot of it's about, for your consideration. There's even a movie Christopher Guest made called For Your Consideration, a mockumentary about the pretentious sort of industry-wide standard of whoring yourself out just to have an opportunity to be nominated and then to win an award. And then after you're nominated, all the money to get screeners out to members, seeing your performance, seeing your movie. And it's just, you need money just to be able to compete at that level. You know what I mean? And it's like, so you're spending money so that you can congratulate yourself amongst your friends. It's like, so okay, it just seems incredibly fake and transparently banal. But that's Hollywood, guys. That's there's a reason why like the theater world like never ever took Hollywood seriously, because it was always a joke. It was a bunch of like, it was a bunch of shallow people trying to create an art form of their own. And I mean, eventually over time, it did become something significant. It did become, certainly replaced the theater in a lot of ways culturally. But, you still see that kind of shallow, rich, fucking idiot behavior in the industry itself. So, and that's kind of always existed. You know what I mean? So, um, it is what it is. But, um, I, let me see here. Let me see if I can get this to work. Um, but yeah, and I'll just kind of end things here. Um, I'm glad I'm doing this. I'm glad I'm kinda getting out there and expressing myself. I do need to organize my, streams a little bit better. And this is my first podcast episode, so I'm not terribly worried about that. And I'm not great at live streaming here by myself. I definitely have experience being on friends of mine's shows and being able to answer questions or talk about things at length, absolutely. But sometimes I trip up on where I'm even going, because I'm not super organized yet. But I'll get there, you know what I mean? And I appreciate everybody watching and checking this out. I literally have to go make dinner. So, but anyway, I will probably try to do a stream, an hour-long stream every Wednesday. Right now, I'm pretty open, so maybe I'll do a few more that I normally wouldn't, just because, like I had mentioned in the deleted recording here, I did lose my job, so I will have to find a new job. But until then, I'll be able to stream more and be able to come up with different content ideas. So, and look, I certainly want to get to the terrible Italy release of Killers of the Flower Moon 4K Blu-ray, which is beautiful, but I cannot play it because it's a fucking Region B locked 4K Blu-ray. Yes, those exist apparently. And I definitely want to talk about Netflix's terrible, awful, no good decision to remake The Wages of Fear, one of my all-time favorite films. And it's going to be terrible. It's going to be a fucking disaster. So we'll get there. I'll probably do another stream here before the week's over. I'm going to be reviewing Argyle on the Friday Night Movie stream over at Society Reviews. That's on YouTube. That's on Rumble. That's on Twitter, or X as it's called. Follow my Twitter, which is Rob_Motto on Twitter. I just tweet about movies, what I'm watching. So we got Argyle. We also are watching, I am also watching The Zone of Interest by Jonathan Glazer, a Best Picture nominee on Friday. I got to travel a little bit for that one, but I will check that one out along with Argyle. And I might get to American Fiction, but 3 movies in one day is a lot. So maybe I'll just see that another day. But until next time, you guys take it easy, and go watch some movies or something.